So a couple quick things. You got criticized the other day for talking about Tim Poole. And it made me think about how Biden the other day was like, who could have seen this hypnotic MAGA wave coming? Like, none of us could have predicted. And I've told this story before, but when I was in law school in 2008, I would get home just in time for the Glenn Beck show, which was the most popular show on cable news.
Yep.
And I can tell you that after 1 week of watching the Glenn Beck show, anyone could have predicted the so-called MAGA wave. I mean, this guy was certified nuts, and I don't think people appreciate exactly what he did. He resurrected a bunch of these like Birch Society people.
Yeah, yep.
Because Glenn Beck is Mormon, and a lot of those old Birch Society guys were also Mormon, like hyper-conservative. And these were like dusty old names, like that nobody was giving a shit about. And all of a sudden, the most popular show on cable news, I mean, these became household names overnight. And he also did a really good job of creating villains, which is pretty normal for the right wing. But, you know, so in other words, I think it is important to be paying attention. And it's clear that even though Biden was in that administration at that time, they didn't have anyone who was like doing oppo research. Like, they should have had somebody paying attention to like what was going on, and they just didn't. And so here we are, you know, whatever it is, 14 years later, and like they can't believe it. They think that, you know, Earl Warren should be walking through the door, and he's just not.
I mean, Joe Biden said as recently as, well, at the very least, you know, at the end of 2020, like 6 months in after Trump is gone, believe me, these guys will come around. And in fact, the irony was that by giving them that time, it resurrected them in many respects. Because 4 months out after Donald Trump was gone, 3 months out, 2 months out after Donald Trump was gone, they were just walking around talking about Dr. Seuss. But once he invited them into the White House in June, 6 months after Donald Trump was gone, that was all she wrote. And they reassembled, and they were able to kill everything with the help, obviously, of Joe Manchin, who Mitch McConnell, you know, developed a relationship with at that point.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. So as something of a, I don't know if this is the right term, connoisseur of right-wing media, I like listening to my AM radio. And I know you are you were a Limbaugh guy back in the day, but I'm really impressed with how, you know, all of this stuff is so streamlined and integrated. And we've learned now that Sean Hannity was not only taking, you know, marching orders from Murdoch, but like he was texting the chief of staff, you know, before the show, like, what should we talk about? And this stuff trickles all the way down to the show here in Yakima, where in between these super local guys who are interviewing, by the way, like local businesses as part of their advertising, and then local Congress people, and the businessmen donate to the Congress people. In between all that, they have like the Sean Hannity morning minute, your morning shot of Sean, or whatever it is. And, you know, here's this message that's coming straight from the White House, straight from Rupert Murdoch into these local issues. And it's just so streamlined top to bottom. And it seems to me that like a lot of the failure on our side is that we just don't have the infrastructure. I don't know what the solution is.
It's not just the lack of infrastructure, although that's part of it. But I can tell you this, that like there's also it is also I hate to be essentialist in this way, but there is also just a fundamental difference. I mean, I can tell you at Air America, it should have worked if you know, that was the infrastructure, right? And but there was no way in a million years that you were going to get the shows to agree on what they were going to talk about. No way. Like you're like just no way. Like it's just the left, liberals, left of center, the personality type, and and this is a problem. This is a problem. Like just in I think infrastructure could help, and certainly pour a bunch of money in there ideologically. I don't know where it comes from, because it would have to be sort of happy with what was being said, and that's also not the case from wealthy people for the most part. But there was no way that you could have faxed us all a talking point and we would have all done it, just personality-wise. And that's also why we have problem with funding on the left, is because on the right, they just their MO, the way they think, the way they operate is I can be a good soldier and I will get compensated for it in terms of money. On the left, the center left, like the compensation comes in the form of other things besides money. And in terms of funders, they don't fund operating costs. They want a project. Everybody wants to be their own creative. I mean, and I'm guilty of this too. Like I do my own, I do my own show because I can't work for anybody and I'm not going to be told what to do. And, there's no, you don't get with the program. You can find some people, they do a little bit of that at like, MSNBC. They're, but to a large extent, they're not on point in the same way. Hayes is not doing the same thing that Rachel's doing. That I don't know if Rachel's still on there ever anymore. But and O'Donnell, that would be the closest equivalent, right? And it is not. They don't do it in that way.
So, if you could go God mode, which I know you've spent a lot of time imagining.
I do.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Like, where would you start? Like, because I mean, this is all descriptive, and I guess like I'm feeling pretty pessimistic. I need a kernel.
I would, if I was God mode, first thing I would do is locate where that Celtics shirt is. Second thing I would do is radio stations across the country. Like, you're not going to get the same unified message, but you're going to get broad strokes. You just need to put up counter narratives up there. You need to. You have to.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen
how much money do we need?
We've seen so many examples now of like them just lying about something and creating these narratives, and it works. It works. It works.
Yeah.
If
the grooming thing is like
case,
really catching on.
Totally.
It's crazy.
Totally. Because there's nobody pushing back. There's nobody pushing back. The idea that the American public, and I wouldn't be surprised about this at all, thinks that the 12% of the population is transgender. It's because they're dominating the news. They're dominating the narrative.
Right. Hey, have a nice weekend.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye. It's frustrating, folks. I mean, I think, look, the only upshot is that we, on most of these things, the argument is just a better argument. And the public is generally with us. It's just the resources aren't there. And sometimes you got to take a couple of steps back to get, where the actual reality of their policies inform people as much as, and more so than their fake narratives.